An entitled Karen falsely accuses me and my coworker of stealing her purse, forcing security to hold all of us behind at the restaurant as they searched through security footage to figure out who did it. And the entire time the investigation was underway, this entitled Karen kept taunting us, claiming that we were gonna go to jail and she was gonna sue the restaurant. Here's what happened. So back in 2014, I was a back waiter on a cruise ship in Hawaii. The ship was in port on a northern island, and my front waiter, who we will call Phil, that's not his real name, as well as myself, were working the dinner shift in the main dining hall. It was, for the most part, your typical steady evening, all the way up until two ladies sat in our section. One of the ladies, who is the Karen of the story, obviously had a little bit too much to drink. In fact, she was red in the face and she was drunk and giggling. During the dinner, the two ladies were having a great time. They were smiling, they were laughing, they were enjoying themselves, and they were actually quite pleasant to wait on. The two ladies finished their dinner and left without any incident happening. Phil and I continued working, but about 20 to 30 minutes later, the drunk Karen returns. She walks right up to me and says to me, "My purse is missing." I replied to her by saying, "Well, no one has sat at the table you and your friend were at since you left, so maybe let's go over there and see if you left your purse behind." I started looking around the table, and it's right about then that the drunk Karen starts shouting at me, "Don't you look for my purse there?" Now this startled me as it happened all of a sudden, and after a moment of being a deer caught in the headlights, I go on to ask what she's talking about. I say to her, "Ma'am, this is where you and your friend ate your dinner. If you don't want me to look for your purse here, then where should I be looking?" This entitled Karen then makes an accusation that truly caught me off guard. She said to me, "You and that other waiter took it, and I want it back right now." Now, when she said this, I was stunned, but I promptly responded by saying, "Ma'am, we did not take your purse. Is it possible that you might have left it in your cabin?" But when I said this really upset this entitled Karen, and she snapped back. She said to me, "How dare you ask me such a stupid question? I would know if I left my purse in my cabin. I know you took it, and I want it back right now." With her screaming, anyone and everyone could hear her, and they were now looking at us. Phil rushes over to try and calm her down, while I went to find the restaurant manager. I filled him in on what was going on, and while walking back towards Phil and the drunk Karen, I warned him. I said to him, "Whatever you do not ask her if she left her purse in the cabin." I did, and it only made her angry. The manager thanked me for warning them, but told me he had to ask her that, as this is part of the line of questioning that he had to do in this situation. Sure enough, this entitled Karen got even more angry when he asked her that question. So now we had a full-scale investigation on our hands. Our section had to be closed down. The passengers dining in our area were inconveniently moved to other sections of the restaurant, and the security team had to come in and question all of us. And this drunk entitled Karen got even more angry when the security team asked her if she left the purse in her cabin. After the questioning, the security team split up. Some went to look for the entitled Karen's friend for additional questioning, while the rest of them went to look over the security footage. They told us that this will take some time, as there are multiple cameras that overlapped our section, and they had to review not only the dinner, but the 20 to 30 minutes after the dinner, when the entitled Karen and her friend left the restaurant, all the way up to when she returned to see if we had stolen the purse. But they assured her that if we did steal it, they would see it in the footage. So now it's just the restaurant manager, one security guard, this drunk entitled Karen, Phil, and myself waiting around in our empty section for the security team to finish their investigation. The manager and the security officer did a good job of keeping this entitled Karen calm for a while, but she eventually lost her patience and she started to scream, "Why is this taking so long? I know those two stole my purse and I want it back right now. If you delay any longer, I will call the cops and I will have them on board to arrest those two, and I'm gonna sue this cruise liner." Upon hearing this, Phil had had enough, and he started yelling back at this entitled Karen. I even pulled him off to the side to try and calm him down, but he just gets upset at me and starts to say, "How can you be so calm right now? That lady is threatening to call the cops and have us arrested. Aren't you in the least bit worried that we're gonna be going to jail?" So I told him, why would we be worried? We did not steal her purse. The security team will verify this when they finish looking over the security footage. The purse will be found somewhere and everything will be fine, so we have nothing to worry about. Now, this did little to no good calming Phil down, so I decided to change tactics, and I said to him, think of it this way. We are both still on the clock, and we're getting paid right now to stand around and do nothing while we wait for the security team to finish their investigation. Think of it like we're getting an extra paid break during during what would otherwise be a standard busy dinner shift. Well, Phil did not find this amusing, and he yelled back at me and saying, "Why aren't you taking this seriously? We could be going to jail and you're making jokes. Don't you have any pride? Where's your integrity?" So Phil is yelling at me, and this entitled Karen is yelling at all of us. Phil is yelling back at this entitled Karen, and things are getting out of hand. Fortunately, a short while later, the entitled Karen's friend walks back into the restaurant with the missing purse in hand. When asked where she found the purse, well, you probably guessed it by now. It was in this drunk entitled Karen's cabin the whole time. I didn't think that this entitled Karen's face could get any more red from the booze she drank and from how angry she was, but she turned 3 shades of red darker from sheer embarrassment. She snatched the purse from her friend's hand and ran out of the restaurant. The friend tried to apologize on the drunk Karen's behalf, but Phil rejected it, and he started yelling. He said, "That lady came in here, accused us of stealing her purse, threatened to call the cops and have us arrested. Yet when the purse was found, she runs out of here without apologizing to us first? What an absolute jerk." The restaurant manager knew that emotionally, Phil was in no condition to keep working, so he told him to clock out for the rest of the night to calm down, and that he can clock back in the next day once he's done so. The manager apologizes to me and asks if I could do the close down procedure for our section on my own. I had no problem with this, since when I was done, I would be clocking off about an hour earlier than usual. As I was finishing up, the manager calls me into his office and says to me, "I want to thank you for how you handled the situation earlier tonight. You were calm and collected, while Phil was losing his cool. But please don't think I was rewarding Phil by letting him off early for his bad behavior. You acted like the experienced front waiter, while he acted like the immature back waiter. He wasn't in the right mindset to continue working tonight, and I promise in the next week or two, I will find a night to give you off as a reward for how you responded to the situation." The entitled drunk Karen never returned to the main dining hall to apologize in person, but she did write an apology letter, which she had her friend deliver on her behalf. Phil was still incredibly angry and wanted to tear up the letter in a horrible rage. This time though, I managed to calm him down and convinced him to be the bigger man and just accept the letter. It may not be the apology that he wanted, but in the end, we are still receiving an apology. And considering the person we're dealing with, I think that's gonna be the best we're probably gonna get. What an absolute scumbag that entitled Karen was. She held up everybody at that restaurant, she made everybody move from their section, and she basically threatened the entire restaurant with a lawsuit, as well as getting these 2 waiters arrested. And it was all literally over nothing. That's the worst part about it. I think if I was in that situation, I would have been upset like Phil. Someone's gonna try and have me arrested all because they're too dumb to know where their purse is? Like, no thank you. I'm absolutely gonna be upset, and I'm gonna let this lady know exactly what's up. I mean, that's some truly entitled behavior if you ask me. And the fact that she didn't have the guts to go back and apologize in person, but instead had to write a note and have her friend deliver it, truly shows how much of a jerk this lady was. So thankfully, this lady never came back, because dealing with someone like this, who's going to make such blatant false accusations against you and your coworker, is something that no one should ever have to deal with. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, linked down below in the description. My girlfriend refuses to make any kind of compromise when making any kind of plans for a holiday, and things have gotten really weird and I now don't know what to do. Here's what happened. So my girlfriend and I live in the United Kingdom, and we have been together for the past 2 years. Last year, we went on our first holiday abroad together, and it was really fun. Before the holiday, we had different ideas of the type of holiday that we would like. I preferred more city holiday, where we could look around somewhere, but my girlfriend preferred beach holidays, where we would do nothing and just relax. Now, I did not like the idea of this, since I don't see the point of going abroad just to relax. It seems like a waste of money to me when you can do it at home. We compromised slightly and went to a city with a beach, but still spent some time looking around. When we got back, my girlfriend admitted that a city break will be better, and that she's starting to see beach holidays as being boring. Since November, we've been planning our holiday for this summer. The plan was to travel to 3 cities and spend 10 days exploring what the cities have to offer. We picked 1 city each, and then decided on the 3rd one together. We had picked really cheap places so that we could set a low budget, especially since I'm trying to focus on increasing my savings. We were supposed to book everything last weekend, but when it actually came down to it, my girlfriend just said, "No, we're not doing that. I would prefer a relaxing holiday near a beach," and then started looking at beach resorts. I asked her her what was going on, since we had this plan for months now, and she just suddenly changed her mind. I told her that decisions like this need to be discussed, and she just didn't respond to anything I said. I pointed out that the trips she was looking at were way too expensive anyways, since I'm not willing to increase my budget for the trip. Anytime I tried to compromise and suggest somewhere else that we might be able to go, she would just immediately say no without even looking at it. She kept showing me places that just look so boring for me, since I don't see the appeal of paying a lot of money to just do nothing for a week. I ended up just stopping looking at places that she would pick altogether, and she asked if I was angry, so I told her the truth. I said yeah, especially because she let me get excited about this trip that I thought we were both going to be excited and willing to go on, but it's clear to me that she had no intention of going and now expects me to just be fine with somewhere that she picks. I pointed out it's supposed to be a joint decision, yet she seems to think it should be her picking it. She just walked out and said, "Fine, looks like we're not going then." Later in the night, she said I was being unfair and she was only trying to find a nice holiday for the both of us. But I mentioned that we had a nice holiday planned and that we both agreed to it, and now she's just trying to find one for herself and expecting me to just agree with it when she knows my thoughts on the type of holidays she's suggesting. I said if we actually want to go away, we need to find a compromise, since there's no way I'm spending a week just laying by a pool or on a beach, because honestly that does not sound fun to me. But it's clear to me that she doesn't actually want to look around anywhere. She does not want a full holiday experience that both of us could enjoy, and she blatantly just said that if we go away, it has got to be a relaxing holiday. This is all honestly so incredibly frustrating, and I seriously don't know what to do. First and foremost, the way your girlfriend is acting is super inappropriate. Like, you already agreed on some kind of compromise between the two of you, and it seemed like you had some kind of mutual understanding between the both of you that this is what we're gonna do. It's gonna be a mix of the city as well as the beach. That way both of you can get the most out of the experience and still have a good time and hit the expectations that you were wanting to go with. But it seems like in reality, your girlfriend was just straight up lying to you. She had no intentions of going on this holiday, and she was never gonna let that plan go through. And right now she's making it seem like it's either her way or the highway. And man, is that just unfortunate and so unfair. You had your sights set on some kind of compromise, but she wants it all about her. And I don't blame you for thinking that that kind of vacation is boring. Like, maybe that's just your preference. There's nothing wrong with that. So personally, I think there has to be some kind of compromise, and I really don't think this is your fault in the slightest. It sounds like your girlfriend's being incredibly selfish, and it's as if she just doesn't care what you think or what you want to do. She just wants to go with the expensive beach resort and have it her way or the highway, and that's not fair. So if I was in your shoes, there's no way I would spend that much money on something that I would not enjoy. There has to be a compromise when it comes to situations like this, and you can't possibly be expected to drop all this cash on something that you definitely already know you do not like. So hopefully some kind of middle ground can be achieved, because your girlfriend is being super selfish, and the way she's acting is honestly really not fair. Entitled customers get angry at our prices all the time, and I'm always left scratching my head, trying to figure out the best way to handle their angry tirades. And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. So for some background, I'm a waiter at a small, locally owned business that is very new. I consider our prices to be fair and affordable, but I've had 2 encounters with people furious over the prices. The big issue here is both times I don't know how to respond. My knee-jerk reaction is to offer a discount, but we aren't allowed to give out discounts unless there's something wrong with a meal or if the customer is aggressive, and we're trying to hurry them off the premises. My boss said giving out discounts to everyone complaining about prices sets a precedent that we can't afford to make, and that they can see the prices on the menu before ordering. The first time, a gentleman came in and asked me if it was $3.99 for a chili dog with onion, mustard, and a side of fries, with those specifications, and last time he was here, he spent around $8. He handed me the receipt, which listed me as the server, and I literally just looked at it, read it back to him, telling him it's an additional 32 cents for onions. Well, he got mad at me and said that he just won't come here anymore, and then bought something far more expensive, and I just replied by saying, "I'm sorry to hear that, sir." And unfortunately, my boss was not here for this one. Later that day though, after my boss had come in, I had an issue with a couple, and at risk of giving away where I work, I'll just say that the woman ordered our specialty hot dogs that have heavy toppings and comes with 2 hot dogs, which is just under $7. The man bought 2 chili dogs and added mayo and onion. The specialty hot dogs don't come with a side, but the regular both come with a side of fries. When I informed them of this, they said they realized last time they are more than satisfied with one side of fries and only wanted one. Choosing not to utilize a side does not change the price though, and it's something that's pretty explicitly stated on the menu. When they came up to the register, they were very agitated that their total was about $16 and some cents. I politely started breaking down the prices for them when the man interrupted me by saying, "On your menu, it says you get an extra hot dog for $1.50. And I was a little baffled by this because I've worked here for a while now and have never heard of this. I politely told him I didn't believe that was the case, but that I'd ask my boss if anything, who was, by the way, sitting at the bar like a foot away. As I turn to ask, he gets loud with me and says, "You should just check the menu. That's what it says. Check your menu." So I did what he said, and I tried my best to keep my composure. As I informed him, it is $1.50 for a side on the entrees, not an extra hot dog. And of course, this entitled customer starts to huff and puff and yells that he always gets the other hot dog for $1.50, which I know isn't true, as that's literally never been allowed. I finally can't deal with him anymore, and I say that I can't do anything about the prices. I just work here, and my boss is sitting right there if you would like to discuss it with him. Of course, he continues to berate me, throw money at me, and then just leave. In my mind, $16 for 4 hot dogs, toppings, and fries is not bad at all, but that's not what this is about. Is there a better way to handle this? My boss said I didn't do anything wrong and was pretty upset about how they treated me, but I just felt like I could have handled this better if I had any idea of how to even reply to people like this. What should I do? Honestly, I'm kind of surprised that your manager didn't step in. I mean, they were sitting there watching what was going on, sure, but at the end of the day, any kind of disputes like that, in my opinion, really should go to the manager. They should be the one to sort that out and figure out some kind of compromise with the customer, or at least to back you up. I personally cannot stand it when managers just leave you out to dry when they have the authority to get things done. It's not fair in the slightest, and it also loses confidence that you might have in your manager to back you up when conflict goes down. And the fact that they just sat there and watched and didn't say, "Oh, let me help you out," or even be like, "No, that's really our prices," or something, really was incredibly toxic in my opinion, and that is so unfair for you. So honestly, the fault is on your manager, as you didn't do anything wrong, and they really should have stepped in and helped you out the second that guy raised his voice. My husband has been cheating on me with his ex-girlfriend from college, and after catching him in his lies and confronting him about it, he still repeatedly lied to me and went behind my back just to try and see her. And at this point, I seriously don't know what to do. So the title basically says it all. I caught him lying about why he was flying out of town, and I come to find out it was to see a woman that he dated in college. Throughout our 4-year relationship, including being married for 3, I have caught him talking to her on several different occasions, either on social media or on the phone. In the beginning, she was very unreceptive of his advances, and even told him to stop contacting her if he wasn't going to leave me. Initially, she seemed to keep things fairly platonic, which hurt even more, knowing that he was the one who initiated the conversation. We talked about it, and I told him if he continues his behavior, I am leaving. He promised he would stop and blocked her on everything, and that was 2 years ago. I should also say that he has mentioned being unhappy in the past, and we have even discussed divorce, but as someone who comes from a single-parent household, I am dedicated to this marriage, and I want to make it work. He agreed to try therapy and marriage counseling, and we had been doing all right up until the beginning of this year when he flew out of town on a whim. When I approached him about it, he came clean to me immediately and told me that he has no intention of ending communication with her and is still very much interested in separating. So that pretty much threw therapy right out the window. Last month on Valentine's Day, I found out that the weekend earlier, he had flown her into our city and spent time with her. And that honestly was the last straw. It broke my heart, and I ended up moving out of the house. I left my rings on the kitchen table, and I have never felt more disrespected in my life. But here's the thing that really has me second guessing everything. Since I've been staying at my friend's house, he has made every attempt to salvage our marriage. He says that he's blocked her on all social media accounts, as well as blocking her number in general on his phone. I want to believe him because I do truly love him, and I don't know if I will ever trust him fully again, or if we will ever get back to how we were before all of this happened. Thankfully, we don't don't have any children, but we just only bought a house together, and we have a small business that we run. This is all so very confusing, and I seriously don't know what to do. What an awful situation. Your boyfriend has gone from thinking about it to actively doing it, and I think I would have lost my mind as well if I found out that my significant other flew out their ex to spend some time with them. Like, that is absolutely obnoxious, and it's so inappropriate. Not to mention the fact that they found out about this on Valentine's Day. Like, that is absolutely brutal. So honestly, I don't blame you for moving out and staying with a friend, because you said it best. You don't know if you can ever trust him again. And sure, this guy is probably seeing his marriage going up in flames. And honestly, that's his own fault. He did this to the marriage, not you. And while it's great that he's starting to see the error of his ways, I don't think that gives you any obligation to have to entertain anything that he has to say. And how on earth can you trust anything that he's saying? He says that he blocked her on everything, including social media and his phone, but he has also said that in the past and still went behind your back to do all these awful things. It's hard to believe if anything he's saying is true in the slightest, and that's not fair for you at all. You deserve way better than this. But I think the one silver lining here, if you do decide to break up with him and divorce him in general, is the fact that you don't have any children. That is honestly massive. If there were kids in the mix, this would have made things a lot harder. And while this decision is still very hard, hopefully with whatever you decide to do, you think about yourself first, because your husband has absolutely destroyed your confidence in him, and I don't blame you for second guessing his intentions as well as your marriage. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, use the playlist at the top of the description. And if you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out in the description below and subscribe.